Welcome to Polyrhythm Music. I'm David Van Dyke. Today we're going to go over the 78 reasons we all hate bass players. Kidding. We're not actually going to do that. We are going to talk about bass though, and for those that don't know, this is a bass guitar. The difference between this and the guitar, normally a guitar has 6 strings. Hell, I play metal, 7 strings. Normally a guitar has 6 strings. Bass guitar standard has 4. And bass is a tricky thing to master. Your length is usually longer, and bass is kind of a give and take. Everything it gives you to make playing the instrument easier, it takes away by being more complicated somewhere else. So, for example, guitar, the strings are a lot closer together. On a bass, these are wider apart. But on a guitar, the strings are much smaller in diameter, where bass strings are a lot thicker and they're a lot tighter. So it's harder to press them down. We're going to go over the 3 techniques that you can use to play bass. So if you're new to bass or you're interested in trying bass, this video could help you out a lot. So let's get into it. So we're going to start right off with the most controversial thing with bass playing, and that is playing with a pick. Some bass players will swear that this is cheating, you should never do it. Other bass players do it. Punk bass players do it all the time. It's not cheating. If you're comfortable with a pick, play with a pick. What pick does is it gives you more attack, more of that on the front end. And if you're used to playing guitar, usually this is a great way to start because it's already familiar. You know, with the strings being so wide apart, using a pick is a breeze. But again, you're going to have a lot more attack, and you have to be able to dial that back to fit in the mix better. Otherwise, you start and you're really blaring out there and it sticks out and it doesn't sound good. And then your band hates you and you end up having to carry everybody's luggage. We've all been there. I mean, not me, I'm not a bass player, but you've all been there. And if you're wanting to be a bass player, that's a look into your future. But technique number 1, using a pick. This is perfectly fine, and if it's comfortable for you, do it. So let's go on to technique number 2, which is a little more tricky. Technique number 2, fingers. This is what most bass players, I'm not gonna say most, but a lot of bass players prefer. This is kind of the traditional way. And the way that you play with your fingers is you're just plucking the string. You're not even really, you're just kind of rolling off the string. But you're anchoring on the pickup. So you're anchoring your thumb here on the pickup. You drop these 2 fingers down, or 3, or 4 if you can get it going. But I would recommend starting with 2. Simple enough. Takes a little getting used to, but this is a great way to get a nice smooth sound. It fits into a mix beautifully, especially if you're playing more of like jazz, blues, funk type things. Funk gets into the 3rd technique we're getting ready to get into. But again, basic technique is you're resting your thumb on a pickup to anchor, and you're just walking across the strings. A little bit of practice, you can have this down in a weekend. You're not going to be a master at it necessarily, but you'll be able to get through a rehearsal, no problem. So that's technique number 2 for bass. Now on to number 3. Technique number 3 is the most difficult on bass, in my opinion. There are bass players that have mastered this and would argue that it's not, and that's slap pop. This is more for your funk. You're really, heavy metal adopted this, especially in the new metal era. But what it is basically you're fretting a note, you're using your thumb as a hammer to strike the string. And then on your higher strings, you're using your finger to make a hook, and you're popping off. That's the basic. This is the most basic of slap pop I can give you. Again, I'm not a bass player. I'm just trying to give you the foundation to build on. And there's a ton of great YouTubers out there that show this technique in far better detail with a lot of tricks. But, you can get to where you're using 2 fingers and you can fret chords, which sounds awesome. If you're a bass player that has a lot of rhythm, which if you're a bass player, you should have rhythm anyway. If you're in a band, you should have rhythm. But bass tends to want to lock into the percussion. And if you're a bass player and you have a really good sense of rhythm, this is probably the route I would recommend you go, because if you can do slap pop, like, you can play anything. The rest of it's a cakewalk. So number 3 is slap pop. It's super fun when you get it figured out. I haven't got it figured out great. I can fumble through things and it's a blast to do. But again, with a weekend, you could get comfortable enough with this technique to get through a rehearsal and be on your way to playing slap bass in a funk band. So definitely, if you haven't tried this, explore this technique because it's a good one. Gives a great, unique sound, super funky, and a lot of people love to hear it. So that's technique number 3. So, quick video just to give you a soupçon into bass playing. These are the 3 basic techniques to play bass. If you picked a bass up today, you could start with any of these 3 techniques, spend a weekend, and be able, you know, in as much as your abilities would allow, but you would be able to make some sense out of bass. And understand, you know, the basic principles behind it. Is this going to give you, you know, an in-depth tutorial? No. But that's a lot of what this channel is built on. So we're trying to start you with the basics, cover that area where there seems to be a gap, which is at the very beginning when people first buying a bass and they have no experience at all. You just got it home. This is kind of the foundation to get you started from there. So I hope this helps. If you got anything out of this video, give us a like and a subscribe. We are close to 2,000 subscribers now, which is insane. I can't thank everybody enough. And we've got a guitar to give away because at 1,000 we're giving a guitar away. So I'm just waiting on the guitar to get here so that we can give it away to one of you, and a lot more coming. So thank you for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.